star at Excite at Home and spoke software. And until 2010, he was serving as the Chief Privacy Officer at Facebook. So it's truly an honor to have him here tonight, and we look forward to hearing his words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lauren, and Larry, and Tom, and the whole crew. To all of you, I want to tell a little bit of a story and talk about the biggest challenge to entrepreneurship, which is how lonely it can be sometimes. So, being together in a class has allowed you to share your ideas, to bounce them off a number of different people. But a lot of the actual innovation, the work, the success happens, whether it's coding, it's product design, it's sitting up late at night, and it's usually when you're by yourself. And it's great to have the availability of all these people to bounce ideas off of, but that loneliness is something that you have to power through over time. And it's something that we don't talk about enough as entrepreneurs, the importance of having that alone time, using it to think about it, and then to aggressively figure out how to present the products, the features, the ideas that you have, and to build companies around it. So when I joined Facebook, it was not a global behemoth of 3,000 people. It was 25 people in a small graffiti-strewn office in downtown Palo Alto. The graffiti had been put there willfully by Sean Parker and Mark Zuckerberg. They'd hired a graffiti artist who was a friend of Sean's from Los Angeles, a guy named David Cho, who was paid in stock, and it's probably the most lucrative piece of graffiti art in the history of the universe at this point. But it was an interesting experience to walk in the office for the first time. Coming in the afternoon and spending time with Matt Kohler and Mark and Sean and Dustin, seeing this kind of work. But the number one thing that was sitting up on the wall as Facebook was working on launching its product for high schools for the first time was the word lockdown. The company was on lockdown, coding to get things done. And that's part of the loneliness of the entrepreneur. It's like when you've got a vision, you've built this small little team of people who believe in the project. Mark had recruited his roommates. He had recruited a few other people from around Harvard to move out here with him for the summer. And despite what you see in major motion pictures, it was a much more complicated, focused thing. Dustin had the best line ever about the state of the movie. He said this. He says, that obviously the movie's going to say that this was all about sort of drinking a lot and meeting a lot of women and having a good time all the time. I'm going to choose to remember it all that way. They missed the hard late nights, the coding nightmares, the challenge, the technical challenge of running a site for then a couple of million people, and expanding it into high schools was what they were working on when I joined the company in the fall of 2005. But that took a vision. The plan was always to keep expanding over time. And of course, everybody laughed at us, and they said, "Well, MySpace is too big. There are all these other things that try these different areas. You may have this niche product for a little while." We wanted to go big, and we were believers. And as Mark presented his vision to me when we were doing our interviews, I could see how we could get there. That's another thing that everybody asks, sort of on the other end. It's like, did you ever think it would be this big? And the answer for most of us who were there early on is yeah, that was the plan. So think big and dream big. Those lonely times are going to be hard. Everyone's going to tell you your idea is stupid. You can't. Listen to constructive feedback. Always listen to constructive feedback. Understand what people are saying to you, but you've got to power through objections at the end of the day. So just when you think about those lonely times, when it's not really working for you, when it doesn't feel quite right, just remember that you've got to power through. There are a lot of people who've been there before you, and sometimes it won't be that idea that ends up breaking through for you. You may end up onto another one. You may end up repivoting the business model. You may end up in these different strategic places. But always think about the problem that you're trying to solve for the world. Always think about the delivery of the product that you're trying to actually build and why you think people will love it and use it and why it's important. And with that thought and vision, you'll be able to get through those lonely times. So with that, I want to leave it off for the rest of the evening for everybody else. I mean, I can take a couple of questions, but I know we've got a lot of people talking tonight. But I wanted to sort of start with that, because I don't think that gets talked about enough. That there's all this kind of, people say that there's magic out there. A lot of it is just hard work and focus, and powering through those lonely times. Okay. Well, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. And next up, we're very lucky to have with us a computer science guru. He is the guy who basically started file sharing. Graham Cohen is essentially the first